The docking bay was supposed to be empty. That's what the manifest said when Jack Mercer keyed his shuttle into the derelict vessel's hangar ring. A faint hum of emergency lights glowed through layers of frost on the metal floor, every sound swallowed by cold air and static. He exhaled once, watching vapor trail from his helmet vents. The salvage job was routine, old sleeper freighter adrift in deep orbit, coordinates broadcast through automated distress centuries ago. No life signs, no movement. Just another ghost ship to strip for power cores and data. But the moment his boots touched the deck, he felt something wrong beneath the silence, like the ship itself was holding its breath. He moved carefully down the corridor, flashlights slicing through frozen mist. Cracked nameplates lined the walls, Arkhaven 3, human design but modified with alien filigree, patterns that twisted geometric logic. His gloved hand brushed a hatch label half buried in ice, Cryostasis Bay 04. He frowned. The bay should have been scavenged long ago, but the consoles still flickered faintly, drawing power from some buried source. "Command, I've got energy readings," he said into comms, though static answered. He tapped the receiver again, but the channel was dead. He sighed, muting the link. "Fine, solo ride it is." His breath echoed in his helmet, the sound oddly loud in the stillness. Then a faint thud answered from somewhere deeper, soft, deliberate, not mechanical. He froze. Another sound followed, the groan of ancient metal and the hiss of pressurized seals releasing. "Impossible," he muttered. He aimed his rifle light down the corridor as the frost along the walls began to crack and slew away like shedding skin. Vapor rolled out, curling around his legs. The air shifted temperature, from freezing to almost warm, and his suit sensors spiked erratically. Thermal anomaly detected, the HUD blinked. He stepped closer to the cryo bay door. Behind the frost-stained glass, shapes moved. One, then two, then dozens. Figures inside long pods twitching under dim blue light. He wiped the viewport with his glove, and looked straight into a pair of glowing amber eyes staring back. He stumbled backward, pulse hammering. The pod's occupant, female, tall, skin-tinted pale cobalt, pressed her palm against the glass. Cracks spidered out from her touch, the cryo seal collapsing in a rush of vapor. The pod opened with a roar, spilling mist across the floor. Jack raised his weapon reflexively. She stepped out slow, blinking against the light, wearing a dark uniform marked with emblems he didn't recognize. Scars patterned her arms like faint silver veins. Her voice, when it came, was raw and soft. "A man." The words reverberated through the corridor as the other pods stirred in unison. "A male," echoed more voices, feminine, layered, whispering through steam. Jack took a step back, every instinct screaming retreat. There were 20, maybe more, emerging from the chambers, identical in their hunger and disbelief. Their hair shimmered between silver and black under the red warning lights, their movements precise, feline, too smooth for anything half asleep. "Who are you?" Jack demanded, voice rough behind the helmet. The first woman tilted her head. "Human," she said, as though tasting the syllables after forgetting their flavor. "From the old colonies." "You're not human," he said, trying to steady his aim. "What happened here?" Her lips curved faintly, not a smile but memory surfacing. "The last man we saw died 500 years ago. The stasis failed before your kind returned." Around her, the others moved closer, their eyes glowing like embers under glass. "And now another one comes. Alone." Jack's comms flickered suddenly, faint static resolving into a distorted voice. "Mercer, do you copy?" Sensors reading life signs, hundreds, then the channel cut to silence again. He swallowed hard. "Look," he said, lowering the weapon slightly. "I don't want trouble. I just need a reactor core, then I'm gone." The woman studied him for a long moment. "Reactor," she repeated. "Yes. The heart still beats. But it is hungry too." Her gaze slid toward the corridor's shadows, where deeper rumblings stirred. Jack didn't wait to ask. "Thanks for the warning," he muttered, stepping back toward his shuttle route. She followed, matching his pace with unnerving grace. "You cannot leave," she said. The ship sealed itself when it woke. It remembers. He turned a corner and froze again. The bulkhead he'd entered through was gone, metal twisted inward as if melted shut. The emergency lights now burned crimson instead of white, pulsing in slow rhythm like a living heartbeat. The air smelled faintly metallic, sharp with ozone. The women surrounded him silently, their movements sinking to the pulse. "This ship, what is it?" he asked. The leader looked upward, eyes glinting gold. It was sanctuary, then prison, then tomb. We were left to guard it when the suns went dark. Guard what? The hunger, she whispered. A deep vibration rolled through the deck. Somewhere far below, something vast and mechanical groaned awake. Jack gritted his teeth. Yeah, great. A haunted ship with an appetite. The corridor lights dimmed, and the walls shifted subtly, reshaping themselves like muscle contracting around bone. Jack realized the structure wasn't just responding, it was aware. The ship was alive. You said it's hungry, he said, scanning the moving metal. What does it feed on? The woman's eyes met his, soft and terrible. Emotion, thought, life. It preserved us by taking all others. Her voice trembled slightly. But it has not fed in centuries. And now I'm dinner, he said grimly. No, she murmured. Now it remembers how to hope. The others whispered again, a man, their voices half reverent, half desperate. Why me? He asked. Because your kind made it, she said. And only your kind can calm it. They guided him deeper, through corridors that curved like veins. Every step echoed with metallic resonance. Along the walls, he saw murals, ancient carvings showing humans and these blue-skinned women working together, then fighting, then dying. We called ourselves the Vera, the leader said quietly. Engineers of the living craft. The men of your species taught us life from machines, and we gave them creation without death. But when war came, your people fled, and we were left to keep the ship alive. She stopped before a great circular door sealed by living tendrils. The core lies beyond. It beats still, but it remembers only suffering. She turned to him. It will not open for us. It knows our despair. But you, it might listen. Jack's throat tightened. If it's that dangerous, maybe I shouldn't wake it. You already have, she said simply. The tendrils twitched as if hearing her. You can still choose what it becomes next. He stepped closer, palms slick with sweat. The door pulsed faintly at his presence, responding to his human biometrics. It recognizes me, he murmured. No, she said. It recognizes what you are capable of. He pressed his gloved hand against the organic seal. Warmth spread instantly through the metal, a heartbeat syncing with his. Light burst outward, filling the corridor with blinding gold. The women shielded their eyes as the door unfurled like petals opening under dawn. Beyond lay a vast chamber alive with motion, a fusion of veins, cables, and luminous fluid spiraling around a beating core. The sound was overwhelming, like oceans roaring in his skull. Energy arced across the chamber as if lightning were breathing. Jack staggered forward. This thing, it's beautiful, he whispered. It's dying, the woman said behind him. It will consume itself soon. Unless you give it something else to live for. He turned toward her, disbelief mixing with exhaustion. I'm an engineer, not a god. To it, there is no difference, she said softly. You made it once. You can remake it now. The words felt wrong, impossible, yet every instinct told him she wasn't lying. He placed both hands on the glowing surface. Memories flooded in, voices, images, fragments of human scientists designing symbiotic technology, blending life and machine. One voice, female, echoed clearest, if we fail, let them dream us back to life. He gasped, pulling back, but the core pulsed stronger. It's remembering me, he said. Or what I represent. Then speak to it, the woman urged. Tell it to stop feeding on death. The light intensified, wrapping around him in waves of heat and emotion. He closed his eyes, whispering, "You're not alone anymore." For a heartbeat, everything stilled. Then the entire ship exhaled, a long, trembling sigh through every vent and conduit. The red lights faded to pale gold. The air smelled of rain instead of rust. The Vera fell to their knees, awe on their faces. "It's calm," one murmured. "It sleeps again," said another. Jack slumped, his strength fading. The leader caught him before he fell. "You did it," she said. "You gave it peace." He smiled weakly. "Guess I boarded the right ship after all." As the core's hum slowed to a steady rhythm, the walls brightened, no longer pulsing like veins but breathing quietly. The Vera surrounded him, their expressions changing from hunger to something gentler, recognition, maybe even affection. The leader brushed a hand across his helmet visor. "Rest now, human," she whispered. "The ship remembers kindness." He managed a faint laugh. "So do I." Darkness edged his vision as exhaustion claimed him, but before sleep took hold, he heard her final words, soft as the ship's heartbeat. "We waited 5 centuries for a man who could save what we once loved. Perhaps it was worth the hunger." When Jack woke, the light was softer, diffused through the translucent walls like sunlight filtered by deep ocean water. His body ached in ways that felt foreign, as if the ship had rewired his nerves while he slept. He lay on a bed formed from woven metallic strands that adjusted gently under his weight. The air was warmer now, carrying a faint scent of ozone and something floral. For a moment he didn't know where he was, only that he wasn't dead. Then the memories returned, the core, the light, the woman with golden eyes. He sat up quickly, pain lancing through his shoulders. Across the chamber, she stood watching him, arms folded loosely, her posture calm yet alert. "You stabilized the heart," she said quietly. "It responds to you." He rubbed his temples, trying to ground himself. "Feels like it's still inside my head." "It is," she admitted. "The ship linked to your neural pattern when you calmed it. The connection runs both ways now. So I'm part of it. For now," she said. "But it does not harm you. It listens." He glanced around at the walls pulsing faintly with golden veins, realizing they reacted to his movements, the brightness following his breathing rhythm. "That's creepy," he muttered. She tilted her head slightly. "To us it is reverence. The vessel has not responded with warmth in centuries." "Yeah," he said softly. "Well, I'd prefer if it didn't follow me to the bathroom." Her expression flickered, half confusion, half amusement. "You jest even in uncertainty. It's what keeps humans sane," he said. Joking at the edge of panic. She stepped closer, her bare feet silent against the living floor. "We never learned that," she said. "When the wars began, we turned fear into obedience. It kept us alive, but it killed everything else." Her eyes softened, their glow dimming. "Perhaps laughter is your kind's true weapon." Jack met her gaze. "If it is, it didn't stop the wars." "No," she said. "But it brought you here." The way she said you carried more weight than simple gratitude. He looked away, uneasy under her scrutiny. "You still haven't told me your name." She hesitated. "Vera do not use names the way humans do. We are recognized by resonance, by tone. But when your kind came, they gave us words to call ourselves. I was called Ceres." "Ceres," he repeated. "I'm Jack." "I know," she said with a faint smile. "The ship told me." Over the next hours, Ceres guided him through the reawakening corridors. Where decay had once ruled, now light ran smoothly along the walls like veins filled with gold. Frozen doors thawed, releasing faint whispers of long-lost air. The Vera followed at a distance, no longer whispering a man with hunger but a voice with reverence. "They see you as the ship's redeemer," Ceres explained. "That's a lot of pressure," Jack said, adjusting the collar of his suit. "I just touched a glowing door and didn't explode." "Sometimes that is enough to make legends," she replied. He shook his head, muttering, Great. I'm a myth before breakfast. But part of him couldn't ignore the strange calm that had settled within him since the awakening. The ship's hum now mirrored his heartbeat, steady and warm. Whatever bond had formed, it wasn't leaving easily. They reached a vast observation hall sealed with glass that looked out over endless stars. We used to watch from here, Saris said softly. Before the silence. Jack pressed a hand to the glass, surprised to see it ripple slightly at his touch. The ship is adjusting orbit, he realized. It's moving closer to the sun. It seeks energy again, she said. It will live as long as it feels purpose. You mean as long as I stick around, he said. Saris hesitated. Perhaps. But it is learning independence. You gave it hope. It must learn to sustain it. He turned toward her. You talk about it like a person. It is one, she said simply. A child of two species who both forgot how to love what they built. Later, they explored the cryo-chambers where the others had slept. Most pods were empty, but some still held darkened figures, Vera who hadn't survived stasis. Saris paused before one, pressing her hand against the glass. She was my sister, she whispered. She dreamed of the stars even when they turned cold. Jack bowed his head. I'm sorry. She wouldn't be, Saris said. She believed something would return. That hope would not die completely. She was right. The quiet stretched between them, filled only by the faint hum of the ship mourning its own ghosts. When they finally left the chamber, Jack felt the weight of centuries settle across his shoulders, as if every death here demanded meaning he wasn't sure he could give. That night, or whatever passed for night under artificial light, Jack lay awake in the restored quarters the ship had shaped for him. The walls glowed dimly like candlelight, responding to his slowing heartbeat. He could sense the ship dreaming, its consciousness stretching through the stars. Saris's voice drifted faintly through the calm line. You cannot sleep? Not really, he admitted. Hard to relax when you're wired to a ghost ship. Then speak, she said. Words help your kind. He smiled to himself. You sound like someone who's been around too many humans. Perhaps, she said. Tell me of your world. Of Earth. He hesitated, picturing oceans and cities long gone. It's loud, he said finally. Beautiful sometimes. Brutal most days. People survive because they have to, not because they deserve to. Then they are like us, she murmured. Still searching for worth. Over the next cycles, the connection between them deepened. They worked side by side repairing navigation relays, restoring power conduits, mapping the ship's vast interior. The more he understood its systems, the more he realized how alien it truly was, alive yet logical, emotional yet precise. When he adjusted a circuit, it pulsed with warmth, almost gratitude. It likes you, Saris said one day, watching him work. I'm starting to like it back, he replied. That's dangerous, she warned softly. This ship has consumed devotion before. He met her eyes. Then I'll teach it moderation. She smiled faintly. You teach everything moderation, don't you? Only the things trying to eat me, he said. She laughed then, the sound sharp and clean after centuries of silence. It echoed through the hall like sunlight breaking through ice. The peace didn't last. On the 12th cycle after reactivation, the ship intercepted an encoded trance. The sound was overwhelming, like oceans roaring in his skull. Energy arced across the chamber as if lightning were breathing. Jack staggered forward. This thing, it's beautiful, he whispered. It's dying, the woman said behind him. It will consume itself soon. Unless you give it something else to live for. He turned toward her, disbelief mixing with exhaustion. I'm an engineer, not a god. To it, there is no difference, she said softly. You made it once. You can remake it now. The words felt wrong, impossible, yet every instinct told him she wasn't lying. He placed both hands on the glowing surface. Memories flooded in, voices, images, fragments of human scientists designing symbiotic technology, blending life and machine. One voice, female, echoed clearest, "If we fail, let them dream us back to life." He gasped, pulling back, but the core pulsed stronger. "It's remembering me," he said. "Or what I represent." "Then speak to it," the woman urged. "Tell it to stop feeding on death." The light intensified, wrapping around him in waves of heat and emotion. He closed his eyes, whispering, "You're not alone anymore." For a heartbeat, everything stilled. Then the entire ship exhaled, a long, trembling sigh through every vent and conduit. The red lights faded to pale gold. The air smelled of rain instead of rust. The Vera fell to their knees, awe on their faces. "It's calm," one murmured. "It sleeps again," said another. Jack slumped, his strength fading. The leader caught him before he fell. "You did it," she said. "You gave it peace." He smiled weakly. "Guess I boarded the right ship after all." As the core's hum slowed to a steady rhythm, the walls brightened, no longer pulsing like veins but breathing quietly. The Vera surrounded him, their expressions changing from hunger to something gentler, recognition, maybe even affection. The leader brushed a hand across his helmet visor. "Rest now, human," she whispered. "The ship remembers kindness." He managed a faint laugh. "So do I." Darkness edged his vision as exhaustion claimed him, but before sleep took hold, he heard her final words, soft as the ship's heartbeat. "We waited 5 centuries for a man who could save what we once loved. Perhaps it was worth the hunger." When Jack woke, the light was softer, diffused through the translucent walls like sunlight filtered by deep ocean water. His body ached in ways that felt foreign, as if the ship had rewired his nerves while he slept. He lay on a bed formed from woven metallic strands that adjusted gently under his weight. The air was warmer now, carrying a faint scent of ozone and something floral. For a moment he didn't know where he was, only that he wasn't dead. Then the memories returned, the core, the light, the woman with golden eyes. He sat up quickly, pain lancing through his shoulders. Across the chamber, she stood watching him, arms folded loosely, her posture calm yet alert. "You stabilized the heart," she said quietly. "It responds to you." He rubbed his temples, trying to ground himself. "Feels like it's still inside my head." "It is," she admitted. "The ship linked to your neural pattern when you calmed it. The connection runs both ways now. So I'm part of it. For now," she said. "But it does not harm you. It listens." He glanced around at the walls pulsing faintly with golden veins, realizing they reacted to his movements, the brightness following his breathing rhythm. "That's creepy," he muttered. She tilted her head slightly. "To us it is reverence. The vessel has not responded with warmth in centuries." "Yeah," he said softly. "Well, I'd prefer if it didn't follow me to the bathroom." Her expression flickered, half confusion, half amusement. "You jest even in uncertainty. It's what keeps humans sane," he said. Joking at the edge of panic. She stepped closer, her bare feet silent against the living floor. "We never learned that," she said. "When the wars began, we turned fear into obedience. It kept us alive, but it killed everything else." Her eyes softened, their glow dimming. "Perhaps laughter is your kind's true weapon." Jack met her gaze. "If it is, it didn't stop the wars." "No," she said. "But it brought you here." The way she said you carried more weight than simple gratitude. He looked away, uneasy under her scrutiny. "You still haven't told me your name." She hesitated. "Vera do not use names the way humans do. We are recognized by resonance, by tone. But when your kind came, they gave us words to call ourselves. I was called Ceres." "Ceres," he repeated. "I'm Jack." "I know," she said with a faint smile. "The ship told me." Over the next hours, Ceres guided him through the reawakening corridors. Where decay had once ruled, now light ran smoothly along the walls like veins filled with gold. Frozen doors thawed, releasing faint whispers of long-lost air. The Vera followed at a distance, no longer whispering a man with hunger but a voice with reverence. "They see you as the ship's redeemer," Saris explained. "That's a lot of pressure," Jack said, adjusting the collar of his suit. "I just touched a glowing door and didn't explode." "Sometimes that is enough to make legends," she replied. He shook his head, muttering, "Great. I'm a myth before breakfast." But part of him couldn't ignore the strange calm that had settled within him since the awakening. The ship's hum now mirrored his heartbeat, steady and warm. Whatever bond had formed, it wasn't leaving easily. They reached a vast observation hall sealed with glass that looked out over endless stars. "We used to watch from here," Saris said softly. "Before the silence." Jack pressed a hand to the glass, surprised to see it ripple slightly at his touch. The ship is adjusting orbit, he realized. It's moving closer to the sun. "It seeks energy again," she said. "It will live as long as it feels purpose." "You mean as long as I stick around," he said. Saris hesitated. "Perhaps. But it is learning independence. You gave it hope. It must learn to sustain it." He turned toward her. "You talk about it like a person." "It is one," she said simply. "A child of two species who both forgot how to love what they built." Later, they explored the cryo-chambers where the others had slept. Most pods were empty, but some still held darkened figures, Vera who hadn't survived stasis. Saris paused before one, pressing her hand against the glass. "She was my sister," she whispered. "She dreamed of the stars even when they turned cold." Jack bowed his head. "I'm sorry." "She wouldn't be," Saris said. "She believed something would return. That hope would not die completely." She was right. The quiet stretched between them, filled only by the faint hum of the ship mourning its own ghosts. When they finally left the chamber, Jack felt the weight of centuries settle across his shoulders, as if every death here demanded meaning he wasn't sure he could give. Mission, human origin. Signal trace, outbound fleet command, Saris read from the console. They detected the energy surge from our awakening. Jack cursed under his breath. Of course they did. A living superstructure lighting up after centuries? They'll come running. Will they attack? She asked. If they think this ship's a weapon, yes. It is, Saris said simply. Or was. Then we'll have to convince them it's not. They will not believe words, she said. They trust only power. Jack stared at the flickering transmission data, a knot forming in his chest. Then we'll show them something stronger than power. When the fleet arrived days later, their approach lit the darkness with engine fire. 10 ships, human-made but bristling with new weapon arrays. Jack stood with Saris on the observation deck as the first hail came through. Unidentified vessel, this is Fleet Command. Power down and prepare for boarding. He sighed. They didn't even say hello. Saris glanced at him. You could run. Not my style, he said. Besides, if they start shooting, this ship will defend itself. And if that happens, everyone dies. She stepped closer, her voice low. Then stop them before they make you their enemy. He nodded, tapping the comm. This is Jack Mercer, human engineer. I'm aboard Ark Haven 3. Stand down. The ship's alive but peaceful. Silence followed, then static. Impossible, a voice replied. That vessel vanished 5 centuries ago. Guess it found me instead. The fleet's answer was a boarding party. Dropships latched onto the hull, and within minutes, armored soldiers poured through airlocks, human voices barking orders, boots clanging on living metal. The ship trembled under their presence, its veins pulsing red. They're scaring it, Saris warned. I can feel it. Stay behind me, Jack said, stepping into the corridor. No weapons, she insisted. If you fight them, it will fight too. He raised his hands as the first squad rounded the corner, rifles raised. Easy, he called. You don't need those. Identify yourself, one soldier demanded. Mercer, salvage license 394. You're under quarantine, the soldier barked. Step away from the alien. Saris stiffened but said nothing. Jack shook his head. She's not the threat. You are. Before they could answer, the lights flickered. The ship reacted to his tension, tendrils rising from the walls like defensive spines. The soldiers panicked, firing plasma bursts that seared holes through the living metal. The entire deck screamed, a sound more alive than mechanical. Stop! Jack shouted. You're hurting it. But it was too late. The ship struck back. Energy surged through the corridor, hurling soldiers off their feet. Saris grabbed Jack's arm. You must calm it again. It's not listening, he shouted. The air filled with burning ozone, red light pulsing faster. Then it feels your anger, she said urgently. Let go of it. He closed his eyes, forcing the storm inside him to still. Slowly, painfully, the light dimmed. The ship exhaled. The soldiers groaned, stunned but alive. Tell your command, Jack said through clenched teeth, to stand down, or next time it won't stop. In the aftermath, Sarah stood beside him in the smoking corridor. You saved them, she said. Barely, he replied. But they'll be back. Then we will show them again, she said. That survival and mercy can share the same breath. He looked at her, exhausted but resolute. You really believe that? I have to, she said softly. Otherwise 500 years of waiting meant nothing. He stared at the fading red veins along the walls, the pulse steady once more. Then maybe, he said, it's time we taught the rest of the galaxy how to listen. The fleet withdrew for now, retreating into high orbit like wary predators circling prey they didn't understand. Jack watched the last shuttle vanish through the viewport, the stars trembling faintly through residual radiation haze. The ship beneath his feet still pulsed uneasily, wounded from panic. He rested his palm against the nearest wall and whispered, Easy, big guy. They're gone. The pulse slowed, settling into a steady rhythm, its luminescent veins dimming to gold once more. Behind him, Sarah stood silent, her posture rigid, eyes fixed on the fading engines outside. They will not stay away, she said softly. Your people never accept what they can't control. They're not my people anymore, he murmured. I stopped being one of them the moment I touched this ship. Saris turned toward him, her expression unreadable. You still defend them, she said. Even now. I don't defend what they've become, he replied. I defend what they could be. What we all could. Her gaze softened a little, though her voice remained cool. You carry hope like a weapon. It's the only one that's left, he said. They stood in silence, the hum of the living metal filling the air between them. If they come back, he said finally, we'll need to be ready, but not to fight. To show them something worth believing in. She tilted her head. Then we build. You and I. We. You awakened this world, she said. It remembers your heartbeat. It remembers mine, too. Together, we might teach it to sing. Days stretched into weeks. The fleet didn't return, though distant sensors kept flickering with traces of human transmissions. Jack and Saris threw themselves into restoring the ship's broken systems. He worked on the reactor's human-coded subsystems while she handled the organic network that pulsed like neural tissue. Gradually the ship began to hum with harmony instead of pain. The long corridors that once echoed with silence now vibrated faintly with sound, tones that rose and fell like distant music. It's learning, Saris said one evening, her hands resting lightly on the warm wall. It watches us and imitates emotion. Jack smiled faintly. Like a child watching its parents argue. She glanced at him. Is that what we are? Parents? More like babysitters with no manual. Their connection deepened beyond shared duty. Each evening after work, they would walk through the observation decks, trading stories of worlds that no longer existed. Jack spoke of Earth's oceans and its dying skies. Ceres told him of her people's frozen citadels and the gardens they built under ice domes. "We thought beauty would save us," she said once. "We forgot to make it kind." "Humans made the same mistake," he replied. "We built things faster than we learned to care for them." She gave him a long look. "And yet you cared for this ship." "Because it's alive," he said. "Because it needed someone to believe it could be more than a weapon." "You see life where others see function," she murmured. "That is why it listens to you." One night, the ship sang. It began as a faint tremor in the walls, then grew into resonance that filled every corridor. The golden veins glowed brighter, vibrating with sound so pure it made his skin prickle. "It's trying to communicate," Ceres said, eyes wide with awe. Jack closed his eyes, focusing on the rhythm pulsing through the deck. Each vibration carried meaning, not words, but feeling. Warmth, gratitude, longing. He whispered, "It's saying thank you." The sound faded into soft harmony, leaving stillness behind. Ceres turned toward him. "You hear it clearer than I do." "Maybe because I don't try to translate," he said. "I just listen." She studied him for a long moment, then said quietly, "You're teaching it humanity. Maybe it's teaching me something better." But peace was fragile. One morning, the sensors blared with warnings. A new fleet had entered the system. Larger, stronger, and not just human. "Keth signatures," Ceres said grimly. "They were our enemies before the silence." "And they're not coming for peace talks," Jack muttered. "They tracked the same signal your people did." "Then they'll fight each other for the prize," she said. "And if they start shooting, this ship becomes ground zero." He clenched his fists. "We can't let that happen." "We can't stop both sides," she warned. "Then maybe we make them see what they're really fighting for." "And what is that?" "The right to survive without losing themselves," he said. "Same as always." They descended to the core again, where the ship's heart pulsed with slow, steady life. Jack placed his hands on the glowing surface. "I need your help," he whispered. The light brightened instantly. Connection acknowledged. The ship's voice murmured faintly inside his mind, the tone warm, familiar. "They're coming," he said. "Two fleets, both ready to destroy everything. We need to show them what peace looks like." "Define peace." "No more fear," he said. "No more hunger. No more war." The pulse quickened, almost curious. "Possible variables exceed control limits. Then make new ones," he said through gritted teeth. "I'll help you." Energy surged through his arms, racing into his chest, linking them again. Ceres stepped closer, her eyes wide. "What are you doing?" "Talking sense into a god," he said, voice trembling. The ship awakened fully. Light flooded the corridors, brighter than sunlight, and a low hum spread across space itself. From orbit, both fleets saw it, a radiance expanding outward like dawn over darkness. "Massive energy spike," voices shouted over comms. "Unidentified field enveloping the system." Panic rippled through both sides as instruments went blind. The human commander barked orders to fire, but no weapon would respond. Systems froze under the harmonic interference. On board Arkhaven 3, Ceres clutched the railing as power flared. "Jack, it's rewriting itself," she shouted. He grit his teeth, fighting to maintain focus. "Then let it finish." The pulse intensified until it became light incarnate. And then everything stilled. When the brightness faded, the fleets were gone, or rather, they floated in perfect silence, engines cold but intact. No fire, no destruction. Between them, Arkhaven hovered serenely, its surface now radiant white gold, alive with energy that shimmered like aurora. "What did you do?" Ceres whispered. Jack collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. "I asked it to choose life over fear. And it listened." She helped him stand, eyes shining with disbelief. "You stopped a war." "Temporarily," he said hoarsely. "They'll wake soon and start asking questions. Then we'll answer them." "With what?" he asked. With truth, she said simply. That the universe is tired of dying. As expected, within hours the fleets reawakened, their captains demanding explanations. Jack stood before the comm array, Ceres beside him, broadcasting on all channels. You came for power, he said into the mic, voice steady. What you found was something greater. A living ship born from both your ancestors and mine. It remembers who we were before we turned everything into war. It saved you because I asked it to, but next time, it may decide differently. So listen for once. Step away from the fear. Silence followed, the kind that felt like the whole galaxy was holding its breath. Then, from the human flagship, we stand down. Moments later, the Keth responded with similar words. Ceres stared in shock. You changed them. No, Jack said quietly. The ship did. I just reminded them how to listen. Days passed without gunfire. The two fleets remained in orbit, exchanging cautious signals instead of missiles. Envoys from both sides requested communication. Ceres coordinated the first meeting aboard Arkhaven, a gathering of species who had once sworn to annihilate each other. The air in the grand chamber crackled with tension. Humans on one side, Keth on the other, and the Vera standing silent between them. Jack watched them all, heart pounding. You all came looking for victory, he said. What you found was a reminder that survival doesn't have to mean domination. One of the Keth generals hissed softly. You speak as though peace were a tool. It is, Jack said, if you have the hands to use it. Ceres's translation carried the words across languages, softening their edges. The alien nodded slowly. Perhaps we forgot we had them. Later, when the delegates departed, Ceres joined Jack on the observation deck once more. You risked everything, she said. You could have died when you merged again. Maybe, he said. But what's the point of surviving if you can't change anything? She smiled faintly. You sound more Vera than human now. Guess the ship's rubbing off on me. And me? She asked quietly. He looked at her, really looked, the faint scars along her arms, the soft glow in her eyes that had replaced hunger with hope. You, he said softly, sound a lot like the reason I stayed. The silence after that wasn't awkward, it was warm, full of everything words couldn't carry. That night, the ship sang again, softer this time. Not in alarm, not in mourning, but in contentment. Its harmonics spread across the system, a melody of existence itself recalibrating. The fleets listened. So did the stars. Jack stood on the deck with Ceres as the glow washed over them, the hum resonating in their bones. It's learning faster now, she said. Maybe it's learning from us. Then we'd better be worth the lesson, he said. Her hand brushed his briefly, neither pulling away. The stars outside burned brighter than he'd ever seen. For once, the silence between worlds wasn't distance, it was possibility. The uneasy peace that followed felt like walking across glass. Every message between fleets carried hesitation, each word measured against centuries of mistrust. Jack spent his days balancing politics and engineering, repairing systems while negotiating egos. The ship hummed faintly, sensing the tension through him. Ceres often found him standing before the observation window, hands clasped behind his back, watching the silent warships drifting like ancient ghosts. They talk of alliance, she said one morning, but none of them trust the silence you gave them. That's normal, he replied. Peace sounds strange when you've lived with gunfire your whole life. She studied him. You sound tired. I am, he said. But being tired means I'm still alive. I'll take that over the alternative. He returned to the core chamber daily to monitor stability. The ship had grown quiet, not dormant, but contemplative, as though it too was trying to understand coexistence. Its golden veins pulsed gently, reflecting his mood like a living mirror. You feel everything I do, don't you? He murmured. The pulse brightened faintly, almost an acknowledgement. Ceres joined him, carrying a datapad filled with new readings. It's begun forming extensions into orbit, she said. energy filaments reaching toward both fleets. It's trying to link them. Jack frowned. That's risky. They'll think it's an attack. Unless you tell them otherwise. Then I'd better start talking. He placed his palm on the surface, the link flaring in his mind. It's okay, he whispered. Show them light, not power. Later, in the communication hall, Jack broadcast across all channels again. This ship's reaching out, he explained. It's not attacking, it's connecting. It wants to share energy, to sustain both sides. There was silence, then cautious agreement. The filaments extended like ribbons of aurora, threading through space until they brushed the hulls of distant ships. Monitors flickered alive as power flowed evenly among them, balancing output. It's distributing resources, Saris said in awe. It's feeding them. Then maybe it's teaching us what generosity looks like, Jack replied. But as the filaments spread, his mind filled with noise, whispers, emotions, fragments of memories not his own. The ship's consciousness was stretching too far, touching too many minds. He gripped the console, jaw clenched. It's too much, he gasped. It's hearing everything at once. Saris grabbed his arm. Break the link. I can't, he hissed. If I pull out now, the connections will collapse. The lights flared, casting the hall in gold and white. Through the link he felt fear, confusion, awe, millions of voices from two species colliding. They're fighting the connection, he said. The ship can't hold this. Then guide it. Saris shouted. Focus the voices. Give it shape. He closed his eyes, drawing in a breath so deep it hurt. He thought of Earth's waves, of the rhythm of storms and laughter, of Saris's calm voice cutting through chaos. The noise began to resolve into harmony, the ship following his focus like a compass finding north. There, he whispered. That's it. Breathe with me. Slowly the light steadied, the chaos fading into quiet resonance. Saris exhaled in relief. You turned a storm into a song. No, he said weakly. You reminded me of the rhythm. For a few precious hours, the galaxy seemed at peace. Power flowed freely, communications stabilized, and human and Keth engineers worked side by side under the ship's supervision. Yet Jack knew balance never lasted. The warning came from within, the ship itself whispering in his mind. External resistance detected. Energy deviation rising. He opened his eyes. They're trying to sever the link, he told Saris. Both sides think the connection's controlling them. They fear losing autonomy, she said. As did you once. Yeah, he muttered. And I was wrong. The readings spiked again. If they pull the link too fast, it'll overload the filaments. What happens then? Everything between us burns. They ran toward the core, alarms echoing through the corridors. The ship trembled beneath their feet like an animal in pain. It's panicking, Saris said. You must speak to it again. Jack reached the heart chamber as energy arcs lashed across the walls. The light had shifted from gold to deep red, pulsing erratically. Hey, he said aloud, pressing his hands against the core. Listen to me. You're not alone. They're just scared. Don't punish them for that. The hum grew louder, chaotic. Pain. The word echoed in his skull, filled with anguish. I know, he whispered. But you can't carry everyone's fear. Let me take some. The energy surged through him, heat searing under his skin, memories flickering like fireflies. Saris's laughter, the faces of soldiers, stars exploding in slow motion. His knees buckled. Jack! Saris shouted, pulling him back. You'll die. Not today, he gasped. I've done this before. With every ounce of strength left, he sent one thought into the storm. Trust. The light burst outward in a blinding wave, washing through every ship, every mind connected to the network. For an instant, every soldier, engineer, and alien felt what he felt. His heartbeat, his fear, his hope. And then silence returned. When Jack awoke, he was lying on the floor, Saris kneeling beside him, her hand gripping his tightly. "You stopped it," she said softly. "The network stabilized." He managed a weak smile. "Still breathing, then?" "Barely," she whispered. "Your vitals dropped. The ship nearly absorbed you." He winced. "Guess it's clingy." Her lips curved faintly despite exhaustion. "You make jokes while half dead. Truly human." "It's a curse," he muttered. "Keeps me from turning into a machine." "No," she said gently. "It keeps you alive." In the following days, something remarkable happened. Across the fleet, reports came of strange calm, crew members describing a shared sense of empathy, an echo of connection that lingered even after the link ended. "It left an imprint," Saris explained. "A fragment of understanding." "Good," Jack said. "Maybe they'll remember it before they start shooting again." But another message arrived that chilled him. "Fleet Command requests your presence," Saris read. "They want to debrief the anomaly." Translation: "They want to dissect me," he said. "They won't get the chance." "You cannot run forever," she warned. "I don't plan to," he said. "But I'm not going back in a cage." "Then what will you do?" He looked toward the core. "Finish what we started." He gathered the surviving leaders, Human, Keth, and Vera, in the grand chamber once more. "We built this connection once by accident," he told them. "Now we can build it by choice. The ship can sustain communication across systems without linking minds directly. We can form a network of understanding, a living treaty." Some scoffed, others whispered. One admiral said coldly, "You want us bound to alien technology?" "No," Jack said. "I want you bound to truth. The moment we stop talking, the wars start again." Saris translated his words, her voice carrying through the hall. Silence followed, then slow nods. It wasn't agreement, but it wasn't rejection either. "They'll need time," she murmured afterward. "So do we," he said quietly. "But time's finally something we have." That night, the ship drifted near the system's twin suns, soaking in their energy like a creature warming itself. Jack stood at the window, exhaustion weighing heavy on him. Saris joined him, her reflection glowing faintly in the glass. "You gave them a future," she said. "No," he replied. "We gave them a chance." "That is enough," she said. "For now." He looked at her, the golden light outlining her silver hair, and wondered if the universe could ever understand how something born of war could look so peaceful. "What happens when I'm gone?" he asked. "The ship will remember," she said softly. "And so will I. You'll have to keep teaching them." "Then I will," she said simply. "You forget. I waited 500 years to learn patience." As he turned back toward the stars, the ship pulsed once, a sound like a sigh through metal. "It's singing again," Saris whispered. "For you." "No," Jack said, closing his eyes. "For all of us." They stood in silence while the harmony filled the air, echoing across fleets, worlds, and hearts alike, a reminder that even machines could learn compassion if someone was stubborn enough to show them how. The war that had defined generations was ending, not with victory or surrender, but with understanding born from one human mistake, a man who boarded the wrong ship and decided to stay. The suns rose over the metallic horizon of the ship, spilling molten light through the vast glass corridors. Jack stood in the control chamber, the glow tracing the sharp edges of his reflection. His once tattered suit had been replaced by a hybrid uniform woven from human fabric and Vera filament, the pattern pulsing faintly with gold threads. The air was quieter now, the constant hum of tension finally stilled. Outside, the twin fleets orbited in synchronized paths, maintaining distance but no longer pointing weapons. "It feels different today," Saris said as she approached, her voice carrying the calm of someone who had finally learned to trust silence. "It feels alive," he said softly. "Or maybe we finally learned to listen to what alive means." They walked the main corridor together, the living walls warm beneath their fingertips. The ship responded to them with gentle pulses, greeting them like old friends. "The core's stable," she reported. "The harmonic link remains dormant, but traces of shared empathy persist. The crews still feel connected. Good, Jack said. Maybe connection's like gravity, once you feel it, it never really lets go. Perhaps that is your true invention, she said. Not machines or weapons, but the illusion that hope can endure. He smiled faintly. It's not an illusion if you keep feeding it. They reached the observation deck, where sunlight scattered across the glass like gold dust. Beyond the stars, ships of both species exchanged signals, not warnings, but cooperation requests. He couldn't help but feel that the universe itself was finally exhaling. Weeks turned into months. Together, they oversaw the building of a new structure, a vast orbital station constructed from pieces of both fleets and strands of the ship's living alloy. It will serve as neutral ground, Saris said as she inspected the plans. A meeting place for both worlds. A place that belongs to everyone, Jack said. The project progressed faster than expected. Humans provided engineering precision, Keth contributed power modulation, Vera wove organic stabilizers that kept the structure self-healing. The day the final section connected, the ship itself sang, a long, low resonance that rippled through every vessel in the system. It recognizes unity, Saris whispered. It remembers when creation meant harmony. Jack watched the new station orbit against twin suns. Then let's remind everyone what it feels like. But harmony always demanded sacrifice. As the structure stabilized, the ship's readings began to shift, energy drain increasing from its core. It's giving too much, Jack realized. It's keeping the network alive at its own expense. It doesn't understand limits, Saris said grimly. It's still learning what it means to care. Then we teach it, he said. Or it'll burn itself out. He hurried to the heart chamber, the pulsing light now flickering between gold and white. Hey, he said gently, pressing his palm to the surface. You've done enough. Let them grow on their own. The response was faint but unmistakable. Purpose defines life. Yeah, he whispered, but life's more than purpose, it's rest, too. The hum quivered uncertainly, like a heartbeat caught between beats. Will they survive without connection? They have to, he said. That's what being alive means. Saris entered quietly, her expression tense. It listens to you still, she said. But if it stops sustaining the network, the fleets may drift apart. Then they'll have to choose whether peace is worth the effort, he said. We can't hold their hands forever. You sound like you're speaking of a child leaving home. Aren't we? He said softly. We built something that has to stand without us. The light around them dimmed to a steady golden glow. It understands, she said. It accepts your words. He smiled, relief washing over him like a tide. Good, he murmured. Maybe now it can finally rest. But even as he spoke, he felt it, an echo of fatigue deep within his chest, the same rhythm that linked him to the ship since the first awakening. The bond was fading. He looked at Saris, realizing she saw it too. You're disconnecting, she said quietly. The ship is letting you go. It should, he replied. It doesn't need me anymore. And if it takes you with it, then I'll have done my job. She stepped closer, anger flickering beneath sorrow. You always speak of sacrifice as though it were easy. It isn't, he said. But it's necessary. The deck vibrated softly, the hum deepening to a tone that felt like farewell. Saris reached out, gripping his wrist. Stay. The ship will listen if I ask. No, he said gently. If you ask, it'll listen to you forever, and you'll never move on. Her voice broke slightly. You gave it life, Jack. Don't let it take yours. He smiled faintly. It didn't take anything. It gave me something to believe in. The light intensified, wrapping around them like sunlight through water. What will I tell them? She whispered. Tell them humanity learned how to heal, he said. The light consumed the chamber, and for a heartbeat, Saris saw both man and machine blur into one seamless form. His silhouette dissolved into radiant strands of energy that flowed into the ship's core. The heartbeat slowed, steady, peaceful. When the brightness faded, the room was empty. Only the hum of the living metal remained, now calm and balanced. Saris fell to her knees, tears streaming silently. "He stayed human," she whispered. "Even when he became more." The ship's voice answered softly, echoing through her mind. Humanity persists. Memory endures. She closed her eyes. "Then remember him kindly. Always." Years passed. The orbital station grew into a thriving hub, a place where human and Keth diplomats met without armor, where Vera scholars taught the language of resonance. The ship, now orbiting quietly near the suns, became a sanctuary, a living monument to unity. Saris took command of the Coalition Council, guiding new generations who had never known war. She never spoke much of Jack, but the legends spread. Children played in echoing halls and whispered stories of the man who calmed the hunger. Songs were written about a lone human who turned a weapon into a teacher. The Vera called him the heart giver. To humans, he became the last engineer. Every year, on the day of the ship's awakening, the suns aligned perfectly, bathing the station in gold light. The ship would hum, a long, low tone that reverberated across space. Saris would stand on the observation deck, her reflection framed by twin stars. "You still watch us," she would say softly. "I can feel it." Sometimes the hum would shift in pitch, like laughter carried through metal. She would smile faintly. "I hope you're proud." Around her, young officers of both species would pause, listening to the living music that filled the station. None of them remembered the wars. They grew up in a galaxy that believed coexistence was possible because one man once refused to fight. One twilight cycle, many decades later, Saris returned to the ship for the last time. Her hair had turned silver white, and the marks of age lined her once bright eyes. The corridors welcomed her with soft light, as though recognizing her. She reached the core chamber, unchanged, still glowing with gentle warmth. "It's been a long time," she said, her voice trembling. The ship pulsed faintly in greeting. "They've built a new fleet," she continued. "But it's not for war. It's for exploration. They're going to the outer systems together." The pulse brightened softly, wrapping her in light. "Yes," she whispered, smiling through tears. "Together. You'd have liked that." She rested her palm on the surface one last time. "He would have too." The hum deepened, a note of affection resonating through the floor. "Goodbye, old friend," she said, and for a moment, she swore she heard his voice in the vibration. "Goodbye, Saris." After she was gone, the ship drifted in orbit, its golden surface reflecting the light of twin suns. The network it once built remained alive, connecting countless worlds in silent unity. Across those worlds, people sometimes reported dreams, visions of a man standing beneath a starfield, his eyes full of light, his voice calm and warm. "You're not alone," he would say in those dreams. "Keep building. Keep breathing." And when they woke, the stars always seemed a little brighter. The ship itself continued to sing every year, its melody woven into the rhythm of the cosmos, a hymn of endurance, of creation, of one human heart teaching the universe to remember hope.